Thank you very much for joining us on especially a very, very short notice here. We are joined by Cambium Biotech CEO Karolis Rosickas, and we're going to be discussing the company, the upcoming capital raise, and especially we're going to get into the dry eye disease and why it is what we think is such an attractive opportunity. And we're going to discuss also about the total addressable market estimates in the presentation, as I mentioned to Karolis earlier. We're 2 billion in your presentation, but we're getting numbers up to the 9 and 10 billion dollar range there. So we're going to discuss that as well. And with that, Karolis, we just want to say welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
Great. Hey, and Karolis, as I said, it's always very exciting to find companies with a big total addressable market in a disease, in an unmet need disease, but also especially in phase 3 with clear demarkers as far as 2025, 2026. They're going to be big events and a big time in the company's life cycle there. So maybe can you just give us an overview to dry eye disease? As I said, I really would love to get into just your view of the total addressable market opportunity first.
Absolutely. So first of all, Cambium Bio develops a human platelet lysate-based biologic drug to treat
Yep.
dry eye disease, in particular moderate to severe cases of dry eye disease. So in terms of the total market size, so first of all, the US is the largest market in the world in terms of prescription drugs to treat
Yep.
dry eye disease. So here we're delineating, all the OTC, artificial tears, and other drugs to manage mild cases of dry eye disease and focusing on prescription drugs only. So
Okay.
based on the global data which we procured most recently for 2022, the total annual sales of prescription drugs in the US were over 2 billion. The market is growing. So in
Yes.
2003, we haven't gotten that data yet, but looking at the prescription volumes, they're certainly increasing. So 2024 as well. So it is likely that the total value of the market size in the US is higher than 2 billion.
Okay.
Obviously, if you take globally, so other markets such as Japan, China, South Korea, Western Europe,
Right.
the full addressable market is certainly much higher. But what is important to emphasize here that in dry eye disease, only less than 3% of all the diagnosed patients actually take prescription therapeutics to manage dry eye disease. So here, the potential of the market is significantly higher. And right now, it is constrained by the lack of efficacious and safe drugs. So the opportunity in this space is enormous. And that market in the US alone can be 10, 15 billion in the next 5, 7 years. So both clinicians and patients are actually in need of efficacious and safe therapeutics such as Elite Ocular.
Right. And Carlos, I think that that's exactly why it's so hard to get a sense on how big is the total addressable market, is that it is unclear. And I believe right now people use a combination of what beta blockers and just frankly taking a lot of pain in their lifestyle.
Exactly. So here, yes, the definition of the market is very important. So we take a very well-defined and narrow definition of it as prescription therapeutics to treat dry eye disease in the US. And there are 6 approved therapeutics in this space. So Restasis, Xiidra, Cequa, Mibo, Eysuvis, and a few others. So that is our definition because that is our direct comparison to the drug we are developing. But yes, there are adjacent modalities which might potentially, so some of the drugs be used as well to manage milder cases of dry eye disease.
Okay. And for Cambium specifically, Elite Ocular, that is your product. And can you just discuss it? And also, especially that, as I said, phase 3, 2025 is going to be an extremely exciting year for you.
It is, it is. Yes, so on the back of successful phase 1, 2 studies in the US, we're able to demonstrate a very strong safety profile as well as differentiated efficacy data when you compare it to the currently approved therapeutics. We are very confident that we will be able to replicate those results in phase 3 studies. So the
Right.
company has been in preparations now to initiate 2 registration-enabling phase 3 trials in moderate to severe dry eye disease. So we have been in discussions with the FDA. We have 2 INDs approved. to initiate the trials. We are actively discussing with contract research organizations, so CROs, whom to partner with. We revised the protocol. We are in the process of developing a few additional analytical assays as requested by the FDA. And soon we'll be in the position to start recruiting patients for those phase 3 trials.
Right. And speaking of recruiting, to the degree that you could talk about it, I think timing wise, we're talking circa Q2 of calendar 2025. And what would be the size of the recruitment?
Yes, so in order to obtain a BLA, so biological license application approval from the FDA, we need to run two independent phase 3 trials, and each trial will be 370 patients. So in total, we're looking at those 740 patients. What's, I guess, important to emphasize here is that generally ophthalmology trials tend to be kind of more cost effective versus some other modalities or indications like oncology and so on. So, we believe that we are well positioned to initiate and finance these phase 3 trials.
Right. Got it there. So, and then the results, they should come out in mid 2026. Is that correct?
That is correct. So we anticipate that we'll be able to publish top-line data in mid-2026.
Right. And will there be any interim milestones along the way?
So looking at the overall timeline from now to mid-2026, I would like to point out that the actual follow-up period of a trial is 9 weeks. So that's a treatment
Very short.
period,
Wow.
very short. So yeah, so what we're incorporating in this timeline until mid-26 is the initial recruitment of patients. So basically, we need to look from first patient in to last patient out, plus statistical analysis and so on.
Yeah.
But given that the treatment period itself is only 9 weeks, it doesn't really make sense. It doesn't save us much time to have interim data in such a short treatment
I see.
period.
Yeah.
Therefore, we'll just wait until the final top line data will be available.
Got it. Because we also have to discuss M&A in this particular sector. It's been pretty rampant. We've seen Bausch and Lomb and Novartis be very acquisitive. Why is that?
Simply, that is a result of a huge unmet need in dry eye disease. So
Okay.
there are two existing drugs, so Restasis and Xiidra, that have like roughly 70% of the total market share. And these are old drugs. So Restasis was approved back in 2003. Xiidra was approved back in 2014. These are small molecule drugs with significant side effects. So really, like if you develop a moderate to severe case of dry eye disease, there are no disease-modifying therapeutic in this space. So big pharma players, such as you correctly mentioned, Novartis, Bausch and Lomb,
Yeah.
Alcon, AbbVie, and others are on the hunt for therapeutics with good safety profile and differentiated efficacy. So therefore, we have seen a number of M&A and licensing transactions in the space in the last couple of years, such as the transactions by AbbVie, Takeda, Novartis, Alcon, Bausch and Lomb, and others. So this is a reflection of the huge unmet need in the space, and those big pharma players are on the hunt of high quality assets in the space.
Got it. Now, taking a turn here down the body, if you will, Cambium is more than just a one-trick pony here. Now, obviously, the big news, and we're going to talk about the capital raise. Don't worry, people, just stick around because also we're going to be investing, so you're going to be sure to want to hear the end of this. But talk to us a little bit about, as I said, down the body into the knees, knee osteoarthritis.
Absolutely. So it's worth mentioning that Cambium Bio was formed as a result of a merger between the Australian company Rosickas and the US-based company Cambium Medical Technologies. So we closed the merger earlier this year. So Rosickas originally has developed a platform technology based on allogeneic mesenchymal stem cells to treat knee osteoarthritis and other indications. So we ran a phase 1 study in knee osteoarthritis back in 2017 It demonstrated a great safety profile as well as statistically significant reduction in pain and function scores for knee osteoarthritis patients. So this data is certainly very promising, and there is an opportunity for us, in addition to a late ocular, to enter into the phase two trials in knee osteoarthritis, which is obviously on its own a huge indication and again, huge unmet need for disease-modifying therapeutics. So there is a potential for us to leverage our broader regenerative medicine platform, not only human platelet lysate, but also allogeneic mesenchymal stem cells for various indications, including knee osteoarthritis.
Right. So, and obviously that's something else that Karolis that we get for quote unquote free within the Cambium portfolio, if you will. And obviously all the focus there is for here in the short term at least on dry eye disease. Now maybe it's time to turn towards the capital raise. And I must say at first here that for Sean and I, the share price, the EV is extremely, extremely attractive, especially when you, as you said, the upcoming news flow, the M&A activity in this sector there, just the sheer size of what could be. But maybe just talk to us a little bit about the capital raise.
Absolutely. So we just announced a trading halt. So we'll be in a trading halt for the next two trading days. When we'll build a book. So we are targeting from 3 to potentially 4 million Australian dollars
Okay.
in additional capital. So we will be contacting investors whom we've been in touch with in the past 2 months to complete this capital raise. What is important to mention here is that over half of the total round is underwritten by our existing shareholders,
Okay.
including Shenyang Biomedical Technology and related parties. So that demonstrates the confidence of our existing shareholders in this technology and a late ocular drug. And we're looking for additional Australian institutional and high net worth individuals to join this round so that uh, all of you can benefit from the future upside in which we're expecting to generate in the next 18 months or so.
Right. Well, it's always good to see existing shareholders follow their own money into their shares because obviously they have the best insight and they have the most to gain. Um, as far as capital raisings, now obviously it's a biotech company, negative cash flowing and so forth. How much runway does this money give you?
So this money will be sufficient for us to dose the first patient, and that is a significant milestone because, as we indicated in our corporate presentation, is that we will initiate global out-licensing and M&A discussions with big pharma players once we dose the first patient. And it is important to mention here that first patient in is an important milestone because that
Of
de-risks
course.
a number of elements in the drug development, including GMP manufacturing, any regulatory issues. So that means that the FDA allowed us to initiate phase three trials. And basically, what you're left with is an outstanding clinical risk. And big pharma players like Alcon and Bausch and Lomb and others are comfortable with this risk. And this is the time when they will be launching a structured process to out-license the rights to a late ocular in the US or globally, or potentially for the whole company to be taken out. So we had some preliminary discussions already. I cannot
I'm
disclose much
sure.
more. But we will be ready to initiate that process once first patient is dosed, and that's why we are raising this additional funding to get to that milestone.
Right. And investors, let's not forget that in Q1 of 2025, it's a big conference time of year for the medical industry in the US, the JP Morgan conference, and up in Boston as well there. So those are market technical milestones, I would call Carlos. So as we said, the entry price is very cheap. There's a lot of up and coming news flow. The cash will last you there to get to the beginning of the phase one trials there. And there's certainly going to be a lot of eyes on the stock, especially from industry players, which is so, so, so important, isn't it?
Exactly, and that's why, realistically, we could have filled this capital raise with existing shareholders only. But what we want to achieve also with this capital raise is to diversify our share register and improve the liquidity of a stock. Because right now, most of our stock is held by long-term holders,
Right.
so who, believe in our story, believe in our technology and clinical data, and they just don't trade. So what we wanted to do that in addition to the participation from existing shareholders, we want to invite new investors to come in into our register and be more active in trading, and potentially, that will help us with liquidity, valuation, and position us better for the upcoming discussions with big pharma players.
Yes. Well, Karolis, we're certainly thrilled. Sean and I are thrilled to be joining in, our investors as well. We really do appreciate the opportunity at these cheap prices, as I mentioned there. We know it's quite late for us right now here, and we know that it's very, very busy with these trading halts and so forth. So we'll let you get to it. But just any closing remarks for our audience before you go?
Absolutely. So look, a late ocular is a differentiated technology. We have excellent clinical data to treat dry eye disease. We believe this drug will be very competitive in the US and international markets. And now this is one of the last probably opportunities to come into this stock before any material value inflecting milestones will be achieved, either through licensing deals or announcement of the top line data. So I invite existing and new shareholders to come and support our story so that we can share the benefits in the future.
Great. Karolis, thank you so much. We appreciate it, and we appreciate the opportunity always. And also thanks to Lodge Partners as well.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.